Happy Monday. I decided that today's Monday Muse would be a little bit different, and I would do a video message for you for a change. And I hope you like this format. If you do, let me know. If you don't, you want me to go back to a written Monday Muse, let me know. I had a really fun weekend. On Friday, I went and saw the band Japanese Breakfast at the Joy Theater in New Orleans with a couple of friends. Super fun. I love the band. They put on a great show. The venue is sort of smallish, so it wasn't an overwhelming crowd. Good time had by all. And then on Saturday, I took myself on an artist date. If you've followed the Substack for a while, you know that I am a big proponent of taking yourself on an artist date at least once a month. And that's a couple of hours where you go explore a new space or seek out some sort of inspiration by yourself so that you're filling your creative well. And mine this week was to go to the World Oddities Expo at the New Orleans Convention Center. If you've seen the ads online for these expos, you'll know that a lot of them are pretty creepy. And you know, I like creepy things. There's a ton of interesting taxidermy. There's crystals and candles, jewelry, lots of fun things. They also had classes on, pinning insects and things like that. I didn't take any classes. What I did do was I bought myself a little piece of art. It's this, if you don't know how well you can see that, it's the Empress Tarot card with what I believe is a blue morpho butterfly. You can't really tell, but it's super iridescent. The Empress is my favorite tarot card. It's one that I've adopted in the last year, really trying to embody Empress energy. Um, Very creative force, very feminine energy. And she's the Queen of Queens, which who doesn't want to be that? So super happy with my little piece of art. And I walked around, talked to some vendors, an author. I knew a local author was there at a booth, so I got to talk to her. Her name's Elise Arden, and she wrote a book called The Casquette Girls, which is based on local New Orleans lore about vampires. I'll link to her books in the comment section. So that was really fun. And it was a gorgeous day. The weather's finally sort of broken in New Orleans. It's not as humid, first of all, which is good. So I decided to walk home. It's about a 35-minute walk. And I took off. I had a beautiful little walk. I stopped halfway home at one of my favorite restaurants, which is Napoleon House in the Quarter, and I sat at the bar and ordered my normal muffalata with a side of potato salad and an old fashioned. It is what I always order at this restaurant, which is saying something because I really, really love variety and I like to try lots of new foods and don't like to repeat things over and over again. So the fact that I ordered this one thing at this place all the time should tell you how good it is. So I was sitting at the bar, eating my muffalata, enjoying my drink, and someone sat down next to me. There was one seat left, and this man sat next to me, and we got to talking, and it turns out he is also an author. He's a therapist. His name is Drew Newkirk. He just put out his first book, which is nonfiction. It's called The Coffin Club, and it is about sort of facing your mortality as a growth exercise. And I have ordered the book. I haven't read it yet. I'll let you know what I think of it when I get it. But he's also an expert on enneagrams. We talked about that a little bit. I'm a 7, which is the enthusiast. He's a 4, which I think is the romantic. I don't know the other types very well. But we had a really great conversation. And he has a YouTube uh, channel. So if you're interested in learning about enneagrams, I'll link to it below. Super interesting guy. He's actually driving from New York to Baja, Mexico to build a retreat center because he does a lot of private coaching. It's one of those things that happens a lot in New Orleans, which is I'll be sitting at a bar and run into somebody and it's just like, okay, we were meant to meet. It happens all the time. The city is really magical that way. So that was a really fun way to sort of cap off my artist date day. And yeah, so really fun weekend. Came away with a lot of ideas, a lot of visual inspiration, conversations, that kind of thing. Really enjoyed it, which is great because I'm starting this week with this energy of beginning the revision process on my novel. I don't remember if I mentioned this to you. I feel like I should have, that I recently finished the draft of the novel I've been writing. It's about 80,000 word draft. I typically write short drafts. So this book will probably balloon to like 125,000 words by the time I'm done with it. But this initial discovery draft is about getting down the broad strokes of the characters and the story. And then I go back in and I do a lot of, revisioning the story before I sit down and rewrite it. That includes creating a new storyboard. I'm doing a lot of research at the moment into some things that I think will strengthen the story, including rereading some craft books, including John Truby's really wonderful Anatomy of Story. And some folklore. I'm doing a lot of brainstorming. It's a really fun process because now I have enough raw material to turn it into something great, as opposed to facing a blank page and trying to come up with something. This is my favorite part. Well, I say every part's my favorite part of the process just because I really love what I do. But this is where you really see the story come together and get very exciting. So I'm really looking forward to this process. I'm thinking about maybe renting a cabin somewhere in the next few weeks and just disappearing for a week or two, and locking in. Because once I sort of get to this point, I really want to focus. And even though I live alone and I live in a very inspirational city, there's a lot of distractions here. So I'm thinking a cabin somewhere, maybe somewhere where I can wear hoodies all day and start a fire and go on walks through colorful leaves, that whole thing. Because that is not what the weather is here yet. So that's what I'm working on right now. And, oh, well, we have to do our tarot reading. I haven't done this live before. Well, live. I'm going to use the Muse Tarot, which is one of my favorite ones to use with you guys. It's the Messy Muse. It's the Muse Tarot. It makes sense. This is a really great deck by Chris Ann, who has a lot of great tarot decks. She's one of my favorite tarot artists, authors, both producers. That might work. But it's a beautiful deck, and you can see it's very feminine, and the artwork is vivid and really has some really great symbolism. It's a really fun one. It's a very, like tarot decks have their own personalities, and this one is a very cheerful deck. It's a very creative deck, which is why I enjoy using it for our readings that I do for you on Mondays. So I'm going to shuffle real quick. You get to see how I do this. And I always do this process. I'm not just picking a card that I want to write about. I actually do a real reading for you when I'm doing this process. So I shuffle and I see what card comes out, and we'll see what message, what creative message we need the most today. All right, let's see what we got. Oops, it fell. Interesting. Oh, I've never seen this card before. This is the Muse of Emotions. This is so weird. I've never seen one that's horizontally oriented in this deck. So that's very cool. So when you're reading a tarot card, like you kind of want to see what symbols jump out at you. And for me, I'm seeing this wave, the starfish. There's a little man in a boat, fish. Emotions in this deck is cups, and cups is obviously the suit of emotions. Whenever we're dealing with cups, we're having a feelings reading. So we're in our feelings today, guys. And in this deck, I can't remember. I think the Muse is the queen. No, the Muse is not the queen. The Muse of Emotions. That might be the one. Let's find out. Actually, I don't know what it is. Because oh, there it is. It's the king. You learn something all the time. So in this deck, the Muse is the highest of the court cards, which I love. And when we're talking about the king card, the sort of highest embodiment of the suit that we're talking about with the King of Cups specifically, a figure who is very balanced in their emotions, has mastered their emotions, uses their emotions in really healthy ways and uses it for good. The keywords that are listed here are compassion, joy, the freedom to feel all the emotions as a way to self-discovery, transcendent states of bliss, meditation, inner calm and knowing, being totally in touch with your desires and with balanced and peaceful emotions, and avoiding moodiness. And there's a prompt here that's called rinsing the shadow, which I find interesting because I think we spend a lot of time avoiding our shadows, which has the effect of strengthening the shadows. The more you try and push them down, the stronger they can get, and the more they tend to come out in ways that are unhealthy. They've got to go somewhere, and they'll come up through the cracks and create a lot of havoc in our lives. And what the King of Cups wants us to do is to go inside, look at our shadows and befriend them, be aware of them, figure out what messages are our shadows bringing to us, because instead of seeing them as threats or antagonists, our shadows actually are messengers saying, hey, this is part of you that you need to look at and integrate into yourself. And I think for writers especially, this is a really important process. Most of the writers I know come from some sort of troubling childhood, some sort of traumatic experiences, weird family dynamics, and writing, or if you're a painter or any sort of creative person, tends to use their creativity as an outlet or a way to explore that trauma, or to talk about the role it has in our lives, or vision a world where that doesn't exist, that kind of thing. And the Muse of Emotions is saying, you got to do that work, because as a writer, befriending your shadows only benefits the work. First of all, because, writing is about being human. That's what we're all writing about all the time. And you have to be very aware of your own humanity, how you tick, in order to be a healthy conduit for your creativity. Because if your shadows are sort of ruling you because you haven't dealt with them, you start to see a lot of self-destructive behaviors that get in the way of you being able to do your creative work. Depression, anxiety, maybe you're doing a lot of procrastinating because your anxiety about doing the work is so strong that you're just trying to avoid it. You're avoiding the pain of the work, or avoiding the pain of worrying about the judgment of the work in its ultimate form. So being able to befriend your shadows and do that inner work helps you get out of your own way so that the creativity can come through. I know that sounds very woo-woo, but actually, like, that's what we deal with when we're in therapy. I'm just using spicy psychology to talk about it. Um, Obviously, it's easier said than done to say, deal with your emotions, especially if you're somebody who tends to avoid your emotions at all costs. I am a very emotional person, but you would not know it because I work very hard to hide the fact that I'm a very emotional person. I tend to be very practical. I tend to keep myself busy or distract myself. And then all of a sudden, I'll need a day where I just can't get out of bed because I have been running from whatever's churning inside of me, and I can't outrun it forever. So, in those moments I really have to like get still, and I have to cry if I need to cry. Sometimes I have to do something like meditate so that I can um really be in my body instead of in my head, because I live in my head a lot, and I have to force myself to climb down out of this very safe space for me. This space of thinking is um it's like my hermit's cave, and it's a place that feels like I am untouchable. um so climbing into my body can feel very vulnerable, and so basically, if I don't intentionally do the work of feeling, it will catch up to me, and then I'm not getting anything done. And the ways that you can intentionally get into that space, meditation is a great way to do it. I know that we hear a lot about meditation. We're like, oh, I can't sit still for that long. Well, there's a lot of different types of meditation. There's walking meditations. There's dancing meditations. There's, you know, I would say morning pages that Julia Cameron talks about in The Artist's Way is a form of writing meditation, um, although it's still thinky, so you have to be careful about that. Another way that I get in touch with my emotions, I literally, during COVID, when things were so stressful, there was a time during COVID where my uncle died of COVID in the hospital. And at the same time, his wife, my aunt, was also in the hospital. And we didn't know if she was going to make it either. That was happening. And I was supporting my cousin, who was their daughter, trying to help them. The stress of the world around, all this stuff. I was not sleeping. You went through the world at that time too. And I remember just feeling like so full of feeling, and I didn't know how to process it. I felt very trapped in it. So literally one day I said to my family, don't bother me for a little bit. I'm going to go cry. And they're like, what are you talking about? So I locked myself in the guest bedroom. I put on headphones and I created a playlist of the saddest music I could think that I could find. And I sat there and I listened to that music for over an hour and bawled. I felt so much better afterwards. It was a very cathartic practice. So sometimes you have to intentionally make yourself get in touch with those feelings. So meditation, do a crying ritual. It works. Another way to get out of your head and into your body is exercise. That can help move stress through your body, which can be really helpful. I've been going to the gym 5 days a week for the last 3 months, and I can't tell you how much it has helped me navigate the chaos of the world of the last few months as well. Like, I literally put on my headphones, I put on Rage Against the Machine, and I lift as heavy as I can, and I go as fast as I can on the bike or whatever, because I need to feel that anxiety and stress and anger, frankly, moving through my body. And then once I've done that and I worked up my sweat at the end, I feel amazing because the endorphins are kicking in. So, you don't have to do what I do, but you could go for a really long walk. You could do some stretching. There's lots of, dancing is a fantastic form of exercise for getting into your body. So, just be intentional. If you find that you're avoiding your emotions and processing them, you have to be a little bit more intentional. But what you will find is if you make these part of your creative ritual, you will find your conduits are a little bit more open and you're a little less resistant to sitting down and doing the work. Because, when we're writing, we're here, but we're also putting our bodies, we're putting ourselves into manufactured emotions that feel very real to our bodies. I don't know if this happens for you. I would bet money it does, but when you're writing a really tense scene, an emotionally explosive scene, your body will tense because you are feeling those emotions for your characters. So you're manufacturing more emotion for yourself to deal with, that your body thinks is real. And if you're not processing those things, it can exacerbate the other emotions that are just part of your real life, if that makes sense. So, I would just ask of you for your prompt today that you do one thing today to sort of get in touch with whatever weather is going on inside of you. And I want to read for you real quick. I know this is going on long. I like to talk. I'm going to read to you from the guidebook what it says about the Muse of Emotions. Come, tiny vessel of love, to the place where the water drops off and pours everything into the sweetest shell of life. This message of highest love resides where all the bits and pieces of your anger and sadness are brewed and alchemized into beautiful experiences for the soul. For they too are experiences to be cherished and learned from. Come meditatively, quietly, calmly, with everything you are. Leave nothing behind, for you will need it all in this place of mindful understanding. Steer clear of manipulation and moodiness, and come into the night on the sweet waves of kindness, for those are the waves that will push you past the riptide. They will float you to the sandbanks of connection and invite you to explore your inner world with the gentlest compassion. Your task is to simply be true to your heart and accepting of the nature that is, as the healing waters of pure love are headed your way. And then there's a little note down here. It says, attend awareness of perception, reaction, emotion, empathic and true, sensitive wisdom who crosses this sea, the subtle magic of now lies within you. So that's your message today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy this, let me know in comments. I'm always looking for ways to, improve your experience here. And if there's any questions you have about the creative life or writing, I am always here for you. Feel free to reach out. You can send me an email at messymusenews@gmail.com, or leave a comment, or you can DM me as well, and we can talk about it. And I hope you have a really creative and inspired week. Thanks so much.